Here at the University of Dundee, our research on tsunami sediments allows us to understand the tsunami risk to the North Atlantic with climate change as we move through the 21st century. Within the geography area, we have a range of staff with expertise on a whole range of natural hazards. Some look at glacier change and outburst floods. Others are interested in extreme coastal change, and I specialise in tsunami impact across the globe. I work with a range of different scientists, modelers who do numerical modelling, experimental modelers, and particularly in Dundee I work with engineering colleagues, and they have fancy pieces of kit to look in great detail at the sediments. And it's the sediments, the detailed sediment studies that allow us to differentiate whether we have tsunamis in the landscape. The impact of this particular research would be to have a much clearer idea of the potential for new submarine landslides that might occur as Greenland starts to melt, for example. It may generate new earthquake activities which are clearly linked to submarine slides and therefore tsunamis. It's a relatively rare risk. The research allows us to put the overall risk into an appropriate context.
I'm a specialist in glaciology. That's the study of glaciers and ice sheets and how they respond to climate change. The particular problem that we're trying to solve is associated with what happens when glaciers recede and thin. What are the impacts of deglaciation? And there are two key areas that are of interest there. One is in what happens to water resources, so people who are dependent on meltwater from glaciers. What happens when those glaciers disappear? You have a big hole in your water budget. And the second thing is that as glaciers recede, the landscape around them tends to loosen up. You get more landslides, more outburst floods, and that's dangerous to communities living downstream. We're currently working on a big Newton Paulet funded project where we're working with a number of universities in the UK and in Peru, but also government ministers and a hydroelectric power company in Peru. One of the key problems is that as glaciers recede, they leave meltwater lakes behind, and some of those lakes can burst and they can wash away infrastructure and communities downstream. But they also represent an opportunity because as glaciers recede, there's less water that's being stored in the mountains, and so you need to store water somewhere else. And one of the possibilities is that you store that water in these meltwater lakes, which could provide hydropower and could provide water for irrigation. So these meltwater lakes represent a potential threat to downstream communities, but they also represent a potential opportunity for generating hydropower and for drinking water and for irrigation. Peru generates about 40% of its hydroelectric power through glacier-fed meltwater streams.